SEO is not dead?
I will say this. There's so many paid ads that it's very difficult. But I'm a very, as you say, like educated consumer.
Clearly, I don't think SEO is dead because
I don't.
I do it all day long. But the thing that's interesting to me is how many people who've been doing SEO badly for the last 10 years think it's dead.
Right.
And the reality is the things that we used to do, and I think lawyer sites are especially guilty of this, just, wall o text about the firm and the lawyers and the blah, 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 instead of trying to understand what is actually going to serve that future clients need.
Welcome to Above the Legal Limit. I'm your host, Justin Chopin, business owner, lawyer, dad, world's best husband, traveler, and adventure seeker. On this podcast, we mix business with pleasure. We'll dive into growth strategies, entrepreneurial adventures, the business of law, and prove that business isn't boring. So let's get ready because we are going above the legal limit. Welcome to Above the Legal Limit. Welcome, Will Scott. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Hey, my pleasure, Justin. Happy to be here.
So he is the CEO and founder of Search Influence. Okay, tell me about that. And that's local, right?
Yep.
So there's not a lot of local guys. So tell me about that.
We started Search Influence actually out of a spare bedroom.
Love it.
In our then home in Mandeville, because, it was right after Hurricane Katrina. We needed somewhere to live. And it is now 20 years old as of the turn of this year.
Right. 20 years.
We've started with a focus on SEO, which at the time nobody could even spell, right? And so over time we moved into all manner of digital marketing, and only very recently have I finally been talked into buying a billboard, which I was really strongly against.
It's a terrible idea. And it's not just because I'm also buying billboards. Well, it's for a totally different reason.
Yeah. Well,
it probably would work for you.
It's not for us.
Oh, okay.
Thankfully. It's for one of our clients.
Got it.
In Lafayette.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's not infringing on your billboard space, and he's not a lawyer.
Yeah, it sounds like he is.
Yeah.
So, you're not, all right, but you're a digital guy, but we could still talk traditional because it all kind of comes in together. I bought billboards like every good plaintiff's lawyer with a big head. We went out and got a few billboards, and then we were like, well, I don't understand. Why am I not like a rainmaker after 4 months of a billboard, right? Because all the traditional media people were like, well, it takes 90 days. That's where I learned they're completely full of shit. Nothing takes 90 days.
Right.
Digital might take 90 days, but nothing really, and then you'll have to retune, but nothing takes 90 days. So we had those billboards up in 2017. That was my first lesson in traditional. We pulled them down probably 2018 because I didn't see any discernible difference.
Yep.
I didn't understand back then that, actually, Justin, you should have just left them up and
the whole time.
Yes.
And
now, so what we did do is we kept the buses.
Yep.
And now here we are 8 years later. And for the first time ever, like my kids are in school, you meet other parents, you're at the ballpark, and you're at more functions. And then someone recently said to me, like, you're known as the guy on the bus. And I was like, well, shit, that sucks. That wasn't intentional. I didn't really want to be known as the guy on the bus. I kept the buses because the billboards were expensive and they weren't working. And the buses were cheap and they weren't working. So I was like, if I'm going to keep something that's not working, I'm going to keep the cheap one, not the expensive one.
I can't fault your logic on that. But the other thing is when you look around town, I have to imagine that billboards for lawyers are stupid expensive because of the amount of competition out there.
It's gotten ridiculous. And then when Gordon McKernan came in, I just use names. When Gordon McKernan came in January, he bought up all the inventory.
Yeah.
So, we are looking at billboards. You actually will be seeing us in a billboard near you, but we're not going to do what those guys do and blanket the market. I'm looking for key boards that we can invest in year over year with good visibility.
So I'm gonna blow your mind.
I want to hear it. I need my mind to be blown today.
Billboards are good for digital.
Mm-hmm.
And here's why. I was originally really resistant to this, but our local client who's really big in billboards is NOLA Detox. They're from West Bay, right? So they're the top search referral for them is branded. And the other thing that's really important thing about now, especially as AI is creeping in and eating all of our digital ads dollars, right? And taking over all of the organic, is that brand becomes much more critical in AI. They're looking for a preponderance of references to your brand, and stitching all of those together to say you are in fact an authority on this or that.
Right.
So the more you have people searching for you by name, which is what billboards do, the more you look like a brand.
Okay, that makes sense. I like that. I've often said, slightly different, is that the billboard's not the ad. The billboard is the reminder for the ad. And so if you just put out the billboard, I think sometimes it can get lost. And I'm just talking about in the space, right? If I always laugh at some of these guys like UMC puts out a billboard and they're like, "Stay healthy this summer." And you're like, "What? What are you advertising for?
Why do you need to spend that money?" That's what I want to know.
It's not like Toro, right? Toro's billboards are great. Like everybody knows what Toro's billboards.
Yeah.
What do they say?
Yeah,
it's where bases come from.
Yeah,
great advertising. I love that. It was like, shit, made me want to go have kids.
Right.
But I see these other ones are like LSU or UNC, or you see some of these, and you can't, there's so much graphics on it. There's like a ubiquitous human that's like fit. And then there's like graphics on the top, and then you've got the big, logo for the hospital. And then there's, I don't know, like basic like regulatory language at the bottom. I mean, by the time you're done with it, I often think like you would have been better off saving that money and doing something else. I don't know. Do like if your goal was really to get New Orleanians to stay fit in the summer, billboard to step outside.
Billboard's not the way.
That's not it. But
and this is where but think of the challenge, right? If you've got a big long brand, it's terrible, right? But if you're NOLA Detox,
I have NOLA Detox. I've seen it
perfectly. Even their former partners over in Lafayette, their Steps Detox, right? So it's got to be short enough that you can read it on the billboard,
right?
It's when you get the paragraph of text that
drives me crazy.
You're in the wrong medium.
And I know we're like on camera, but I'm a fidgety guy, so I guess I gotta have my pen. Y'all can edit it out if you want. So our billboards are gonna be super clean, and because if you ever see our outdoor ads, they're so much like our buddies McKernan and Bart. Not intentionally, right? They're yellow because you see yellow,
right,
and red because you see red. That was not. So Gordon McKernan came in and he just made his billboards look just like Morris Bart's. Morris Bart then doesn't know what to do. And so, not to say he doesn't know what to do, but they say, well, we're going to double down and say, don't pay attention to this guy, pay attention to us.
So what's funny,
interesting theory there.
Here's what's funny to me is because I have family in Baton Rouge. So I'm sometimes in Baton Rouge and I've seen Gordon McKernan's billboards forever. They used to be all red. They used to be all red. Buddy Bart was all yellow, right? And so now they're both yellow and red. So they're just like doing this brand dilution thing all over the place. It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. I was suspect of Buddy Bart's approach there. In my mind, I would have been like, no, I'm not even going to acknowledge you.
Right.
But that's not necessary. But who's to say? Like, he's the marketing king here. I'm not. I don't know what the right answer is.
But do you think the consumer
cares?
And I mean,
well, that's the problem.
This is the thing about
I like to think consumers.
No.
I know.
Personal.
I wish you would.
It's personal injury law, right?
Yeah.
Everybody. So what? You don't have a lot of consideration. This is just like detox, right? You don't have a lot of consideration when you're shopping for a personal injury lawyer. You're like, ooh, I just got into an accident. Now I get to get rich. Who's the first person I can call?
Well, sure. Sometimes that's it.
No, I understand. I've got grievous injury, and I need to hold the insurance companies accountable. Blah blah blah.
A lot of times it's like my car's damaged, and the insurance company won't return my call. Right, but I would hope that the consumer would do more homework than they do. I know that they don't, and so and I can say that because I don't think any of my consumers watch this podcast. But I would wish you would. You'd love it. It's great.
I have friends
informative.
I have friends who do actual like user studies where they put a bunch of people in front of keyboards and actually gauge their engagement. And what they've discovered is that it's about the stars It's not about what's under them. Sure. People don't read the reviews. If anything, they might read the best reviews, read the worst reviews, and then
that's what I do.
And then they're looking at the stars. And so if you
go for reviews, I go for volume.
Yeah.
Like how many? I go for overall, like what's your overall score?
Yes.
And then I go for what your latest reviews are. So I'll go back, a month or so to see like what's your latest, and then I'll go what's your worst. And then usually when I look at the worst, I'll always be like, oh, you're so petty.
Yeah. But
we just see trends.
You're also a savvy. You're an educated, savvy consumer, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And so I think that the mass of people are not going to do that much diligence on their review following. These same guys, the name of the group is Near Media, and they are actually in an engagement right now with another friend of ours who all he does is lawyer marketing. And so they're about to publish a study probably in the next couple of months of the way that people search for lawyers. So it'll be really interesting. And they're Near Media. You should totally check it out.
So when we talk about intake here, because advertising, marketing, and intake are like kissing cousins, right? They really go. Yeah. So,
is there, let me ask you this, because I just don't know the answer to this question. Is there any value in nurture? Like if you've got a lead, right, and you've walked through the process, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna think about it.
Sure.
Does anybody wait, or is it either?
No, so
it's either go or no.
That's where I was going. That's where I was going to go with that, because there really are similar. So when we talk about the intake side of it, I said, look, there's no phone book, and everyone hears that they're so young. Like people in my office are so young; they're just little specks on their cheeks, and that they don't really understand the phone book.
Yeah.
So you have to be old enough to understand. If you truly understood the phone book,
what's the
phone book? Right? The yellow pages, not the white pages, the yellow pages. If you understood the yellow pages, then you would understand Google and your consumers so much better. Because if you needed a locksmith, who did you call?
Yeah, typically the first listing.
And what was it?
It was AAA.
Right. It was, so that's what I tell the people here. I said, there's Acme, right? Acme, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it was AA Acme, A Acme, A Acme. And when towards the end of the phone book years, shit was ridiculous, right? It was this many A's, Acme locksmith. Right. And because people they would open it up and they would like, that's a great name. So I would open it up and be like, what sociopath would name their company A? It's like a Monty Python joke where the guy's writing the script and dies, and he says, right? And they're like, what? So, but that's the average consumer, and that's how they found us. And so then we have to understand our customer. Our customer doesn't know who we are, despite our efforts. And, wow, that's energetic. No, you're cool.
Yeah.
It's no big deal. That's the average consumer. I tell them this all the time. They didn't wake up and say, I need a lawyer and I'm calling Justin Chopin because I know he's the best. I wish they would, but that's okay. They went out and they Googled it. And so once you understand that your customer is going to hire you without a full understanding of who you are and doing all the homework, that tailors how you approach. And so to your question, does nurture work? My answer is it depends on the case. When we had hurricane work during Hurricane Ida, absolutely. It's all about the long play.
Yep.
This is a huge decision. You're talking to homeowners.
Yeah.
They're doing their research. I love sales. I love intake. I love being part of it. I love it when it's up. I hate it when it's down. It's a dopamine hit when they call. And the hurricane people, I would convert leads that were 6 weeks to 8 weeks old. For the personal injury client, you got 3 minutes.
That totally makes sense.
There's no nurture.
I think about stuff like Chinese drywall or Camp Lejeune, right? These like big, everybody's talking about them. Everybody's pumping out 10,000 pages of content around them.
Right.
And those I can imagine being mesothelioma, right? These are all long consideration. Do I really have a case? Is this something that I should really be pursuing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
I mean, the meso people, like they're sitting up at night on their computer and they are researching.
Yeah.
Your car accident victim, your slip and fall victim,
right?
They are not. So what I tell them is when you have a caller, you should assume a few things. You should assume one,
They've actually never spoken to an attorney in their life. I think that, I don't know the stats on it, is some percentage of people have actually never spoken to an attorney. And when I have them all in this room, I say, who here has ever called an attorney for a legal need, for, that where they needed a lawyer, and not one person raises their hand. So who's to say we're any different? I've never called a lawyer. Have I? No, I've never once. Now, granted, look, I come from a different background. I have a lot of lawyers, but I mean, I've never once had to call a lawyer and be like, hey, I have a problem. So, the average consumer, the average, right? They're always, you have professional plaintiffs, you got people that never called. The average consumer, vast majority of them have never spoken to an attorney. 2, you should assume that they're vetting you against, 2 other attorneys. They're vetting 3 attorneys at one time, and they're going to sign with whoever said it the best or said it last. Sort of a primacy and recency. Like whoever just said it the best. Like, I like that way that other guy talking, and I'm just the same. Like, I'm the same. If I'm calling a sales department and this guy tells me exactly what I want to hear, and I like the way he says it, and there's just the kids would say, there's a vibe, then I'm going to send my business. If I'm talking to this guy and I'm just like pulling teeth to get information, and then we hang up and I haven't committed, I'm going to call the next one on the line. And if the next one is giving me the vibe, then that's it. So it's whoever says it last, or whoever and then if the next guy I talk to sounds just as bad as the first guy, and then I may think, guess they're all this way. Right. So, and so, so that's, and then, so they never spoken to an attorney. They're vetting you against 3, and you basically have 3 minutes to sign this client, or they're gone forever. It's very challenging.
So how do you deal with that from a language perspective and from a training perspective? Because, I mean,
well, we're doing a full retraining on Monday. Yeah. Because I don't like where my conversion report is telling me. And so Monday, we're going to set a couple hours aside and we're going to go through it. I find, I'm going to publish all my tricks here. I find there's a few things you have to do. One, you have to stop trying to vet every case that comes in the door as though you're going to take it to trial tomorrow.
Yep.
All I want to know is this person injured? Was it in the last 1 year or 2 years, depending? And were they at fault or were they not at fault? I don't care about anything else. I don't care what lane they were in. In the early days when I would do intake, the lawyers would get so frustrated because there'd be like one sheet of paper and it'd be like the person's name, their phone number, and then what the date of loss was. And then I'd be like, all right, here you go. And they would look at it and be like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? I said, don't worry about it. I have the contract signed. It's your job to go figure out the rest of the case.
Right.
I got the client in the door and I signed it.
Yep.
That's all I care about. So that's the first thing you need to do. Because if you sit there, I've seen it year over year over year, people want to be like, no, but I don't understand. Why didn't you apply your brakes? Or wait, were you taking a left from this? Just don't worry about it. Sign it.
Right.
And if you get into the case in a month and you're like, oh, this is actually completely your fault. Sorry, did you realize? You can let him go. Like, we can fire clients. I don't have to marry you, And so that's the first thing. The second thing is, I think clients need, if you understand and appreciate that they've never spoken to an attorney before, then you need to lead them down the path of success for them. And part of that looks like this. Oh my goodness. So an ounce of empathy, feigned empathy if you have to, but an ounce of empathy, and then an affirmation. Oh my God, I can't believe that happened. You've done the right thing. You've done the right thing. You've called the right place. Okay. So now they're not crazy because maybe they're thinking like, I don't know, maybe I don't even need a lawyer.
Yeah.
No, you do.
Yeah.
You did the right thing. And we can help you with that.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get started. Let's get you in our system right now.
Yep.
So you've affirmed, like I even tell them, like, you should just say the word yes. 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 You've done the right thing and you called the right place. And this is absolutely something I can help you with. And I do it all the time.
Yeah.
And then once you've done that, you kind of put them at ease and then you can talk about some of the things. But my bigger thing is just get them signed up. And then we'll have a very long conversation afterwards, where our onboarding conversation, where we can go through all the nitty gritty. I often find if you challenge a potential client prior to signing it, they internalize that as you not having confidence in their case.
Yeah.
And we're all that way, but lawyers are just wired to like challenge every little thing. So it's best to just save that for later. There's always a time and a place to challenge it. a customer who hasn't signed with you yet is not the time to challenge.
Structurally,
Yeah.
is the lawyer who has that initial conversation the one who's taking the case?
In my firm, that's how we do it.
Yeah.
So if you take the call, you get the case. Generally speaking, I mean, there are a few nuances. Like if you're injured offshore on an oil rig, I'm going to make sure that you're with one of my oil guys, right? If we have guys that kind of specialize in different things, and I want to make sure. But by and large, that's the rule. You get the call, you get the case.
Have you ever thought about pulling out the best sellers and making them do that all day long?
Well, unfortunately, that was me. And so I got to a point where I just couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Where there was just too much volume. So I have my intake department, and my intake department, they help direct traffic. And I'm basically like the director of intake. Like I talk to them every day, and I'm like, where are we? Why didn't you do this? And then they'll send it to the lawyer so the lawyer can talk.
Yep.
The lawyer will send it back. There's a lot of people who say I'm wrong for that, but it's too cumbersome of a phone call. But I think it's okay. I would rather we go back and forth. This is like a seasonal thing. If you were to ask me 6 months ago, I'd be like, no, intake needs to sign it. And then today you're asking me, so I'm like, no, the lawyer needs to sign it and send it back to intake for follow up. We go back and forth, and I don't know that there's a right answer here, but ultimately, from your perspective in the marketing world, I think it's interesting to understand your consumer because it's the same thing. Like, so as you're putting it together, right? So what do you care about? You care about the stars. You care about your placement, right? Or everyone says SEO is dead. That's crazy. But what do you say? What say you?
You think SEO is not dead?
I mean, I will say this. There's so many paid ads.
Yep.
That it's very difficult, but I'm a very, as you say, like educated consumer. I'm like the ultimate consumer. I'm willing to do the deep dive, but I still fall for all the same bullshit. It's just that my bullshit's like a little bit different. Like you have to like trick me in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, flashy colors.
Clearly, clearly, I don't think SEO is dead because
I don't.
I do it all day long. But the thing that's interesting to me is how many people who've been doing SEO badly for the last 10 years think it's dead.
Right.
And the reality is the things that we used to do, and I think lawyer sites are especially guilty of this, just, wall o text about the firm and the lawyers and the blah, 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 instead of trying to understand what is actually going to serve that future clients need.
I will be honest here. We were talking about this actually in an elevator yesterday about someone was like, oh, I was interviewing somebody and for a position, they're like, well, I was reading about this on your website. I was like, oh. I was like, well, if you're reading about it on my website, you probably don't have the best information. Let me tell you more about this position. And they kind of looked at me puzzled, and I was like, listen, the website is just what it is. The first web vendor we ever worked with, one of those big box firms out of California that you pay them the money. They have it on their own proprietary platform. Their job is just to churn out leads. So, and he said, it doesn't matter what the website looks like. All that matters is what you do with it. I think there could be some value to that, but with serious outer limits, of course.
I don't think it matters much what the website looks like. I think it matters what it reads like.
So, I mean, look, I love the guys we work with, but even when they send me a press release, like I stopped reading it because it's such junk that I'm just like, oh, whatever. Okay, fine. Put it out there. It would be too time consuming for me to write it in my voice in a way that I think is instructional, that a way that a consumer might really appreciate. And honestly, I wouldn't even know if it would have the right keywords to even have the benefit. Right. So I usually like, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is the new consumer is the robot, right? This is where
I was going to ask you about that.
This is where I think the real SEO is dead conversation should start from.
When will AI, specifically like a large language model AI, replace Google? When's that going to happen?
I don't know. It was like I think it was like May.
You think it happened in May?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe is it because I'm older, so I just Google? I still Google.
No. I mean, so here's the thing: Google all you want. You're getting the large language model, right? You're getting Google's version of it.
When will open AI? Like when are people going to go? Or you don't think it's going to happen?
I mean, it may or may not. I just don't think it's the right question.
Understood.
What you have to understand is that Google is bringing all of those same features into their interface. 6 months, 18 months from now, Google's going to look just like OpenAI, just like Perplexity. You're going to do a search. You're going to get a page of content that tells you all about the thing that you searched for and not necessarily any direct references to businesses. So what's happening now is
I do like the new AI function on Google. I'm like, very first little clever. I'm like, it's I needed in this.
Really,
thank you.
It's really helpful, except when it's totally wrong. Right. And so this is the challenge: is that like I wrote a piece where I likened Google's AI overviews to again going back a ways, Cliff Clavin from Cheers, right?
Okay.
And for any of your viewers and listeners who don't know who Cliff Clavin is, he was a postman who always had a really convincing sounding answer to any question that was usually completely wrong. And so this is what the AI overviews are like, is they're going to tell you in a very authoritative tone of voice.
I've been accused of that myself.
Well, me too. Look, you talked about feigning compassion, and my version of that is I start presentations with one of my favorite sayings of all time, which is the most important thing in business is sincerity. If you can fake that, you've got it made.
Got it, right?
So along those same lines is that you engage with those AI overviews and you're like, oh, this is really good. I feel good about this. I feel like I now know stuff. And if there's and this goes back to the whole billboard discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, what the talking about? Billboards, AI reviews. They're the new billboard. So your brand impression is going to happen in that AI overview. And then the user's going to go back to Google and they're going to search for you by name. Just like when they see you on the bus, they're going to say, oh, I want to talk to Justin Chopin because he's staring me in the face and he looks really sincere, right?
Right.
And so this is actually, believe it or not, I like buses better than I like billboards because they're at eye level, right?
Well, that's why I like them. Yeah. And if you're stuck behind it in traffic, there's nowhere else. You're not doing this.
Right. And it's not changing every 30 seconds on the digital billboard.
8 seconds.
Yeah. So to me, this is where the value lies, is that if you can be the brand that's referenced at the top of the AI overview, you get the next search. Now, the unfortunate thing is that Google is probably going to show your ads before they show your organic listing, so you're still going to pay for it.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're not there and somebody else is advertising on your name, then there's the again.
All of you know who you are.
Yeah.
I know who you are.
Look,
I know that you know.
I helped run a mayoral campaign a long time ago, and we were literally the only ones who were advertising on everybody else's name. And I was like, how is it possible? Nobody else is doing this. We also updated some Wikipedia pages, but that's another thing altogether.
Right. I mean, so it's our third largest line item in our digital spend is to have to buy our own name.
Oh, yeah.
Now, part of this is complicated by the name itself. So the law firm portion of the name is an unfortunate situation for me. Like, I never occurred to me to be like, don't call yourself the Chopin Law Firm. I'm not rebranding now.
Right.
But I should have been like Chopin Injury Attorney, even then, attorney, law firm, right? You'd have to, I see some of these guys, they'll do it. They'll almost, it's like a DBA.
Los Angeles DogBiteLawyer.com.
Yeah. I mean, right. It's just like, or I don't know, insurance busters. Those actually real people. But still Google me or when I Google myself on like a private page just to see like an incognito, and I see all my contemporaries, some friends, some enemies, and they're all coming up before mine. It's very frustrating. And then I have my marketing meeting where we go through the budget and we're like, well, we had spent X number of dollars, thousands of dollars, to buy your own name back. And my question is, well, is this money well spent? And their answer is, yeah, I don't think you have a choice at this point. You're just going to have to do it.
Yeah, you can be in different camps around that, right? And we have some clients where we advise definitely buy your name, right? NOLA Detox is one of those, is because their name happens to be a common phrase. And so there's no trademark stopping anybody from advertising on their name.
Right.
And so for that reason, it's critical for them. But we have others where it just doesn't make a difference, right? If I'm the Audubon Nature Institute, do I need to be advertising on Audubon Nature Institute?
No.
No.
There's no other.
Right. Even if they,
where are you going to go? Where are you going to go to like a?
even if they wind up on TripAdvisor or Viator or Airbnb experiences,
it doesn't matter.
They're still going to get the ticket revenue. It's just going to be cut, by a third or something.
Right.
So I think it depends. And I'd want to look at the data before I was like, yes, absolutely, you should be buying your name. But the great news is, I think Chopin Law Firm is more, I don't know, it's more brandable. Maybe more smart because he's been up there forever. And the DD guys, Dudley DeBosier,
right?
I think that, to me, so going back to the idea of like, how do I show up in that AI overview? Because it's coming for local. It hasn't yet taken over the local pack, right? So you can still compete on the map. You can still buy those local service ads, which are, by the way, the best deal on Google. But this is an interesting discussion from my friends at Near Media. Look at all the great features on those local service ads versus what you get on the normal map pack, right? Normal map pack looks like you just, I don't know, wandered into the discount store, and the local ads are like, Saks Fifth Avenue, right? They got all the features, they got everything. It's the Mercedes versus the whatever. I'm not going to insult any car brands because they are all good now. But
sure, there's got to be one we can make fun of, but maybe not. I still use Dodge Neon as an example.
The last time I made fun of Hyundai, I learned that my director of account management drives one, and I loves it.
I was in Colorado. I rented the Hyundai Palisade.
Yeah,
and I said the car was fabulous. I was like, oh, this car's really nice. Right. I was like, I don't know. I can't even make fun of Hyundai,
and they got all the features for
for a fraction of the price and unlimited. I'm with you there.
Yeah, but so I think that the point is that you have to think about, when you're thinking about the way that search is going, and the way that search is going is it's going to get subsumed by AI. And I'm going to put this here so I can come back to this. This is my reminder that remind me if that's up there. And what's going to happen is that the AI is going to become about brand. So if you don't have a strong enough brand, you're not going to show up at the top of the list when somebody says who's the best, who's the top, who's the XYZ, right? And so unless you're in those lists where those people are listed, you're not going to show up in that search. And a lot of that's going to be about brand. And then you need them to search for you by brand. This is the like trigger point for Google forever, is that if you could get enough people searching for you by brand, you could actually rise up in the rankings without changing anything else, right? And this is just as true in the context of the
AI sees you're relevant, right?
Yeah.
I always say, Google's heart's in the right place, right? It's wanting to serve you what you want. You have to fundamentally accept that as a truth, that it's not like its heart's in the right place.
Yeah. Okay, so the reason that this is up here.
So I had an economics professor in college that would do that.
Oh, really?
He would ask and he'd be like, I'm going to get to that. He's like, this is my reminder. But then he would always be like, oh, I forgot.
Yeah. I remember what this was here for. It was because you're doing something else that's actually, I think, even better, and you're engaging in new media, right? Like your TikTok account gets, look, you're a personal injury lawyer. You're not going to get like Beyonce level likes.
Yes, like nobody's that interested.
But you have a couple of posts that have a few hundred likes on them, right? And so the thing that's going to be interesting to me is that as the kids move away from, the Google,
which will eventually, I'm sure,
a lot of discovery. We did a survey. This was in the higher ed space, but we did a survey to figure out like, where are people going now that Google is dead? Google's not dead, but it's getting there. And a lot of it is going to TikTok, and if you're at the right demographic, Instagram. And so if you can be present there in the kind of media that people want to consume, you have a much higher likelihood of getting that first touch. So think of your TikTok like you think of the bus, right? If you're there in their face at their moment of need, whether they realize they have a need or not, or whether they made a commitment, then they're going to go to you. And the other thing that you do that I think is really brilliant is it's you. Right. It's not some ersatz you. It's not some influencer. It's you. And so to me, that starts to build the trust. And so they're like, hey, who was that funny lawyer that I saw? Right. I got a problem. I saw this guy in my feed. He was talking about New Orleans related stuff. He was talking about how dumb people are, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
And boom, you get the call. So.
When we started the social media, I'm using this it was a we, I got so much pushback from that end of all, they were incensed that I was going to make a fool, where I'm going to be rapping. I was like, guys, do you really think, right now that you know me, right? Like, do you really think I'm going to get on Instagram and like sing a song and dance a dance and do all this shit? It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Now, it's law light a little bit because I think law, I am a lawyer, but a lot of this shit's boring. I don't think everybody, so when you see the law heavy ones, it's always like, who's at fault? And there's like the lawyer and he's just standing there. He's like, well, I think it's so boring. And so I try to keep it law light. It's above the legal limits. I try to keep it law light. We talk about some of the stuff. We could talk about, if you have like a legal question, like I can answer, like I'll tell you my answer is, usually about the same. But I try to give the most frank answer because I feel like lawyers equivocate too much and they spend so much time saying it depends and they never answer. It's like when you talk to your CPA,
Right.
You're like, I just want to, like, can I write this off or can't I? I was like, I don't know, dude. I just want to, should I just be taxed as a partnership or an S Corp? And then there's like a 45-minute conversation. And at the end, I was like, son of a bitch, he didn't answer the question. Right. Wait, hold on. What's the answer? And they're like, wow, I mean, I think it really depends. Yeah. So I tried to be very frank with people and speak in extremes because I think it's just easier, to kind of, I know, of course I know that there's an exception to every rule. Of course I know that these other things are out there, but well, I mean, it's a 30-second clip and what do you want from me? But so I got a lot of grief for it. It has seemed to work out okay. People are generally okay with it. We try to keep it, generally entertaining or, and short enough that maybe they'll watch it. We did get one. So I'm super proud right now. We did one where I talked about drive-through daiquiris and I should have known
about that one.
Yeah. So everyone was super jazzed about it because New Orleans, like we're so obsessed with things New Orleans-y. And, but it's got 250,000 views now on Instagram. And those are free views. We weren't paying for those. Right. I assumed we were paying for it. I actually asked my marketing. I was like, well, how much did we spend on that? And they're like, no, we didn't put any money on it. I was like, oh, cool. All right. So I guess people really are into drive-through daiquiris. I like them too.
Too much sugar for me these days.
They're too much sugar. So my kids were screaming in the backseat. This is probably 2 years ago. Yeah. My wife and I were just like, I can't deal with this anymore. And like I'm the boozy one, like she's from the Midwest. So, she might have maybe a half a glass of wine and then like leave it on the counter somewhere and walk away and never come back. Like that's just, I'd be like, why would you put it down?
Right.
When you hold your wine. Right. And so she pulled in the drive-through daiquiri line. It had been years since I'd had one. And, I didn't even know what to order anymore. It was like, what do I order? It's like a 190 octane. Do I get the floater? Am I too old for a floater? But I agree. It was very sweet. I was like, oh, this is like a lot of sugar. I went instantly into a hangover sort of situation. It was, you skip stages 1 and 2, you go right to 3.
Well, you've got high sugar, low quality alcohol
for sure.
Right. I mean, they're not putting the top shelf stuff in there. So I think it's a hangover just waiting to happen.
It's like you almost start like you should just be hungover and then get one.
Yeah.
That way, I don't know, that might just bring you to like a baseline. But anyway,
this is New Orleans, so that's probably likely.
Yeah, that's actually kind of probably the situation I was already in.
Right.
I do remember it was much sweeter than I. But people like, I think the social. My plan's to keep it going. I'm not trying to be an influencer. I don't even know that I have the stamina for it, but it can't hurt.
To me, the thing that I think a lot of businesses and a lot of marketing agencies miss is trying to make the connection across media. Right? Mm-hmm. Is like if I'm creating a video and I'm publishing it in all these places, what am I doing to incite the search? What am I doing in that video to get people to go search for my name? What am I doing in the caption of that video? And this is especially true on Instagram now that they've opened themselves up to crawling. What can I do in the caption of that video to make it show up in search? Because it can show up in the AI overview. So if there's something for which you should definitely be in there, you can get multiple bites at the apple by both optimizing your site so it's tuned for AI overviews, optimizing the captions on Instagram so they're tuned for AI overviews, same thing on YouTube, same thing, blah, 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 right? Any piece of content that's ingested by search engines, you should be thinking about as an optimizable asset and then creating the connections among them.
And so how do you do that? What does that look like?
So
for the social bit, at least,
you just, so you write your you write your social post like you cared about it ranking in search.
Got it.
And that's very simple, right? It's a
lawyer near you.
headline that includes something that looks like a keyword or an entity, right? And then body copy that's succinct, that is monosemantic, that like sticks to the topic rather than meandering all over the place. And then if it's a medium where you can stick
this is like your territory.
If it's a medium where that's why they ask me to come do these things,
right?
So they can get all their best ideas.
Exactly.
If it's a medium where you can put a link in it, put a link in it. But these days with AI, it barely matters. The more you can have your name, right? The more you can have your name, Justin Chopin or Chopin Law Firm associated with personal injury law or car wreck defense or car wreck whatever,
right. Whatever.
Car wreck. Dog bites, slip and fall.
The more everyone always says dog bites. I've never handled it. We've handled one dog bite case. They're the worst. Nobody's got insurance around here, and they're always just like.
But it's the joke in our industry because everybody
thinks about dog bites.
Sacramento dog bite lawyer,
right?
Reseda dog bite lawyer.
Like what?
Yes.
I can tell you, we certainly get calls for dog bites. I can only think of one dog bite case we've ever handled in 10 years.
Yeah.
And it was actually a really challenging case. The guy didn't get bit by the dog. He almost got bit by the dog.
Oh, and ran in front of a truck?
And in doing so, tore his rotator cuff. In trying to get out of the way of the dog. And so the big defense was, it's not even a dog bite.
Right.
And I was there. They called
the dog dodge.
Right. That we fought like dogs on that case. I guess the pun is intended, maybe.
Right.
But that's funny. Everyone always says dog bites. I actually, when we switched from that old marketing company to our new marketing company, we had to have like a lot of these conversations because a lot of people don't know. Like, you don't necessarily know what I think is valuable and what I don't think is valuable. Like what are some things that I want to pay for and what are some things I don't want to pay for? Like, I don't pay for MedMal leads. I'm never going to pay for a MedMal lead. I don't want to pay for MedMal lead.
Yeah.
We do well organically for MedMal just because of our results. There's so much of it. They're so expensive. Probably 1 in 1,000 cases is like worth going, to the next step. It's probably for every 100 will like sign up. And then out of that, maybe 1 out of 20 from there is like worth actually sort of investing in. And they're just so challenging. So dog bites is like another one, right? So I have to be like, no, I don't want, like, we don't want that. There's no insurance anymore.
Yeah, I think that, so really the big idea here is the more you can associate your name or your brand with things that you want,
whatever it is, right?
Yeah. So,
sell cigarettes, right? Chopin cigarettes,
or
whatever.
So the reason your name is always stuck in my head is because one of my bougie friends only drinks one kind of vodka.
Oh, he drinks the Chopin vodka.
Yeah,
people used to say like the pianist, and now they'll be like, oh, like the vodka.
Yeah,
I suppose it's kind of embarrassing to you, but sure,
that's about expertise. Yeah, I know. It's really, but it's the whole last touch theory, right? Whatever your last impression on the thing was. So if it's the vodka, it's the vodka. But I think that like when I think about the way we should have been thinking about SEO for the last decade, but now who's being forced to because of AI, it's those few core concepts. The more you can associate your brand with the thing that you want to do, and if you're a local business, like most lawyers are, with the location that you serve, right? So Chopin Law Firm, personal injury law, New Orleans. The more you can tie those together, we refer to that as a semantic triple. And the reason that matters is because there's another Chopin law firm somewhere. I don't know where they are.
I'm related to them. I can tell you where they are.
Yeah, well, who cares? I like it's,
Chopin and Chopin. It's my cousin and my aunt in Miami. They do divorce work, right? I got another cousin out in Texas, Chopin, whoever she's with, they do so. I got a Chopin. All the Chopins, they didn't know what to do. So they all in one generation became lawyers. So I guess my uncle would have been like first, then my other uncle would be second, then my father was the third. Okay, so there you got your third, dad's number 3. I was number 17. My wife, when I was 16, my wife was 17. Like nobody knew what else to do. We all became lawyers and we're all called Chopin. And it's just fortunately for me, most of them are defense lawyers.
So I always tell my kids, if it turns out that you have no ambition and you just want to you need some money, sell insurance.
Yeah.
Because unlike law, you got to show up, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You got to show up. And insurance,
generally things I have to do, like I have to be there. I need to be sober. I need to like look a certain way.
You sell it one time, and it's like I asked our insurance guy for our company. I was like, hey Tom, help me understand the economics of this, and he was able to do it in less than 5 words.
Yeah,
it's $600 per covered life.
Right, you're gonna starve for like 2 years, and then so like my good buddy, one of my good hiking buddies, I like a lot, old buddy Kyle. He sells insurance. And, we were out hiking. I was like, you know what, Kyle, why don't you sell me some insurance? And so he's like, all right. And so I was like, but I don't want your auto because I don't like who it's going to be too expensive, but sell me something else. He's like, I'll sell you life insurance. I was like, well, that sounds good because I don't know how much longer I got on this work,
Right.
So he sells me some life insurance. And I was like, I'm helping my buddy Kyle. And the next time I see him, that asshole pulls up. It's like his 3rd new truck of the year. And each time the truck gets bigger and bigger and it's got more letters. Like it's like a HD. There was like 6 wheels on this one. And he's got the lights. I was like, what happened to the old truck? He goes, oh, that truck? No, it's, I got this truck. So he's obviously
on that one.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So every time I see him, he's in a bigger truck. And now he starts talking about like, oh, well, we'll go out on the lake, to our place on the lake. I was like, wait, what? Your place on the lake? But he's got me because it's a term policy. What am I going to cancel my term policy?
Right.
The jerk's got me for 20 years now.
Look,
fell for it.
I have respect for him that he sold you a term policy, at least not a whole life policy.
Right. Yeah. I had to Google some on that. It was like,
I think there's certain industries that are just cash machines, and insurance is one of them. And it's not like
your overhead's low too. It's not like our overhead's ridiculous. You would die if you heard what our overhead is. I mean, there's a revenue high, but
I used to be on 935 Gravier. We had the whole floor. I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's the one does not want to deal with that kind of stuff. They don't have to. But the beauty of it is you sign them up one time, you go renew, and you maybe got to do a little something to renew. But like with us, 30-something people for health insurance. It's like, yes, everybody needs health insurance. We're going to renew next year. We can't go hit the streets.
True. Like and I keep telling my people like, hey, if you don't, because they all want to bitch about my health insurance. I was like, well, we have 3 plans, by the way. We offer 3 plans. I don't know any other law firm that's like, oh, well, you pick the plan you want. We have all these plans for you, depending on what you like. And everyone's like, this is terrible. I'm like, get the higher plan. I don't know what you want me to tell you. But I always tell them, if you don't like it, shop it out, man. Tell me I'm wrong. Go find someone. No one ever does a thing, and we just renew every year with the same 3 plans. Maybe we make some small changes, but So the big thing is for auto now. Everyone knows every 3 years, you need to be shopping it out. I heard the other day someone said to me like, "Oh, all you get is 2 years out of a marketing company." But that's in your world. Does that resonate at all? I don't know where I heard this from. I think I heard it on another podcast I was listening to. I was like, what? 2 years? You're switching every 2? That's exhausting.
Just don't tell the clients that have been with us since 2015.
There you go.
Because
it takes 3 to 6 months to really you got to.
Well, and it takes
it's a lot of time and energy to build up to see your year-over-year growth, and
and it in a more complex field. We work a lot in higher education, and so we're talking about 8 or 10 programs. We're talking about a whole bunch of different channels, right? So it's, masters, bachelors, this, that, and the other.
Right.
And it takes so long to just even understand what it is that you're selling.
Yeah.
So I think that I find that shocking. And here's why. The biggest complaint of marketing firms is turnover, right? I keep getting a new account manager. I keep getting a this and that. And,
for sure.
And so if you're with one of those firms, absolutely 2 years, because that's how long your
big box firm out of California was. Every time I called, someone was always getting promoted to, double vice president, most senior vice president. They all have this bullshit VP, names. And then you'd get this new doughy-eyed figure would come in and be like, well, I want to hear more about your business. You're like, what?
Yeah. No,
go ask Bill.
One of the things that we talk about a lot is we've got around a 7-year retention on both team and clients. We have my director of sales and marketing. She's been with us for 15 years, right? So if you worked with Paula 15 years ago,
right,
and you're like, hey, I wonder if Paula's still at Search Influence, or I'm having trouble with my new account manager, let me call Paula, right? She's still there.
Sure.
And she's still got the same phone number and everything. So I think that the idea of, I'm a bit of a contrarian in the world of digital marketing, because I think too much of it has just been on autopilot for the last decade. People are like, "Ooh, this worked. Let me just keep doing that. Let me just keep doing that."
It was really strong in 16, 17, 18. It's really in this market, but we're no different. I'm sure, Houston, Dallas, the most expensive keyword you can buy is like trucking accident lawyer in Dallas, right? On all of Google, the whole fucking world of Google. That's every word that's ever been invented, every website that's ever been, every article ever published. The most expensive is trucking lawyer in Dallas, or California. They trade off. But but it's just there's so much noise, there's so much competition, and there's so many big spenders who aren't spending for more leads. They're spending to choke you out, which is why we're doing a lot of what we're doing, is to try to weather some of this.
So this is where I would wonder. So, okay. So I've been doing this for a long time, right? I put my first website online in the 90s. So I've been doing this longer than most of my team members have been alive.
You're dialing up for that.
Right. Absolutely. So Yellow Pages, before we started Search Influence, I was actually putting Yellow Pages online.
Yeah.
So we were taking the books and we were turning them into online products. So I get it. But the thing that's so interesting to me, and this is what's re-energized me now, is with AI and the things that you can do with automation. If you're doing it the same way you were even 2 or 3 years ago, you are so going to get left behind. And my team right now they're like, "Come on, we need to hire," and I'm like, "Okay, just chill a second. Let me automate the pain away, because you don't need that." And especially the AI doesn't care about authenticity and authorship.
Yeah.
What they care about is ubiquity, right? You just need to be everywhere, and that's how you're going to win. And so for you as a personal injury lawyer, I would look around at my competition and I would say, where are they not publishing? Where are they not publishing that could actually be valuable? And when you get that next press release from your team, if you see 3 walls of text and a link, tell them to go back and redo it, because it's not following the way that we should be writing those things for semantic SEO. You want to ask the question, answer the question succinctly, give a little bit of context so they know which of those things you're actually talking about, and then move on to the next topic.
Yeah. And we used to do that. The Google FAQs, they still have them. They're really good.
Yeah.
I use them all the time.
Okay.
Sometimes it's really funny. Like my favorite thing would be like to not have the complete question and see what it thinks you want to ask.
Right.
And then sometimes they're dead on, and then sometimes their questions are hilarious.
There's actually a piece of software that we've integrated into some of our internal tools called Also Asked, and it scrapes the people also ask questions all across you can localize it, so I can look at it in New York and Chicago and wherever. And so I built for the team a keyword tool, because you know how we used to do it, and I'm sure there's still some people doing it. We would take data from 4 different sources, throw them in a spreadsheet, sort, blah, blah, blah. There's so many APIs out there, and the ability to develop software like that with AI-based tools. I was like, tell me what's hurting you and let me fix it, right? And so I've just been the last probably 6 months, I've just been building tools so that we have the best data, the fastest, so that we can actually make good decisions for clients. And that's where I think that this is where the shift is going to happen. It's not that SEO is dead. It's that anybody who isn't thinking about SEO in the right way is dead. They may as well just I don't know, go do one of those jobs that can't ever be replaced by AI, like be a massage therapist, right? That's not going away to AI. And, it's a perfectly nice thing to do, but they should definitely not continue at SEO, because they're not going to stay long.
Always the fear was like, oh, well, AI is going to replace all the jobs. And I always laugh and say, you can't replace what I do. It's just because we make the rules. Us lawyers,
they've done a bunch of studies on this.
It's trash,
Justin, and it's just not true. I mean, they might have replaced the lawyer, so certainly not the principal lawyer.
That's what I mean. Like, you can't replace what I do. But so they tried this a while.
The paralegals, they can replace the junior lawyers, right?
Well, I'm not a paralegal or a junior lawyer.
Well, and as long as you're still build, $250 an hour for the AI.
Yeah, right.
Paralegal, cool.
I mean, so they tried this. Louisiana is a great jurisdiction to practice law. I can't imagine practicing law in another place. I love it here. And our laws are a little quirky. And one of the things that they tried about in the last 5 to 10 years, maybe 15 years, was that you could fill out your will online, right? And they're all invalid in Louisiana. It doesn't work that way. You can't do it that way. if you're going to, you can't have a typed out will with written in things that's an invalid will. And so the website that was trying to, sell this product in Louisiana, it all fell flat. So that's why I always say, like, look, we're always going to protect our industry. Lawyers are never going to like, we will pass a law that's like, no AI lawyers.
So I was literally proofing my will in the last couple of days. And, there's a couple of words in there that don't exist anywhere else in the world, apparently. Legitim.
Right.
Usufruct.
Right.
What the heck is a usufruct, right?
The usus and the fructus, but not the abusus.
Right. This is only Louisiana that you're going to see these things.
So other jurisdictions have usufruct. They just call it a thing.
Yeah.
But I'm with you on that. I mean, look, I don't do that kind of work anymore. I'm just an injury guy now. But it is always kind of interesting. I just think that we here are trying to. I'm going to say it. God, it's so annoying. I hate it when people say this to me. Leverage AI. So I have a rule, like in a meeting, if someone's like, can we leverage AI? Like I will walk away. Like I will just walk away. Because I was screaming and I'm like, well, no, don't scream. Just walk away. This is what I do with my kids. Just walk away. Leverage AI.
That's the problem is it's fine as long as they're not running into the street.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you shouldn't walk away.
And, but so we have such privacy issues that it's a very big challenge for us. Because what do my lawyers really want? What do my staff really want? They want help with, document management and summarizing. And so we're working on it in-house. It's a bit of a challenge. Some of the LLM providers that say you can get a HIPAA compliance.
Yeah.
They say you can get it. I'm reminded of like Jerry Seinfeld with the rental car. He's like, well, anybody can take a reservation.
Yeah.
It's holding the reservation, right? And so anybody can say they're HIPAA compliant. It's actually to get it, though. I don't know what you have, what bot you have to sleep with to get this, but we're still holding out for it. But that's so we're working on some things there. We're working on some discovery, where I'd like to see a universe where the first draft is where you can have our discovery responses drafted in our own voice based on the forms that we use. Because people ask the same question.
Yep.
I've yet to have a unique piece of written discovery in like 10 years, right? The last unique question I saw out there was like your social media account. We're not going to give it to you anyways.
Right.
So go get an order. But, so there's something unique about it. But I have my own style of the way that I like to answer that we've crafted over the years, or like my trial lawyers, like they have their own style that they like to use. And so you can have the LLM sort of use that.
Right. That should be absolutely trainable.
Yeah, it is. And everything takes time, right? But that's the next generation of where we are. Maybe that'll save me from hiring, a couple more paralegals. I don't think it's ever going to be like, well, see ya, Betty. I don't need you now. Yeah, we're so committed to our staff. We love our staff, so I don't think that would happen. But what I tell them is, this is a tool for you because I want to save you some time.
And I think the tricky part is figuring out where's the friction that really doesn't require a human, right?
Right.
And so one of my first example that I automated the pain away is Google Business Profile posting, right? A human absolutely does not need to write those, and they sure as heck don't need to push them up to Google, right? So I took a weekend and I built the framework and I gave it to my content team and I said, how is this? And they said, it's total shit, Will. This is what it needs to look like. And so you iterate a few times and then you get to something that's passable. And so I heard from them this week. They're like, hey, we're good. These require 36 seconds of review and we can be confident with it going online. And so what does that take away? I don't know, 20, 30 hours a month.
Right.
So,
and it adds up. So it's just one thing.
Right.
And then the next thing, I was very anti-AI for a couple of years. For about 2 years now, people have been peddling the AI, and I'm very contrary, to that. And the reason is because everyone wants to sell you a beta product. And my policy is, if you want to sell me a beta product and use my use of your beta product as the training for your product, I feel like I should get like a stock option. Like, I should get ownership in your company. Like I'm basically like an angel investor at that point. And these guys aren't messing around. They're not saying like, oh, but look, it's beta, so it's cheap. hell no. They're like, it's beta, so it's really going to cost you. And I won't even talk to you for less than 50,000.
Right.
I was like, well, for 50,000, I'll just sit here all night and do it myself.
Right.
So we were very anti AI. And and everyone kept saying, you're going to get left behind. I said, I'm not. And let me tell you why. Because I'm old. I'm older. I'm not that old. Quite young. But I'm old enough. That's the answer. I'm old enough because I'm Gen X. And so I've lived in a pre-digital world or an analog world. And so I remember the first the first search engine we used for legal research. And in those days, you had to pick the databases that you wanted to use. And then when you wanted to search, you had to use what was called terms and connectors. And so you would say, I want the word,
so you're basically describing your SQL query across those databases.
Right. And you'd have to be like the word car /s in the same sentence, accident, an exclamation point, and so you would have to use all these connectors. That was how we did legal research, which was considered like the Jetsons' future compared to reading it in the books. Right. And then Google became a common, manner of searching, and people wanted to search in common language.
Yep.
So then Westlaw came out and they're like, whoa, holy shit. Like, what if, hear me out, Mr. Law, hear me out. If I kind of call you West, what if you could develop a search engine that used common language and people didn't have to use this incredibly painful terms and connectors? And what if you didn't have to select any database like you wanted? Like, what if you could just search across and it was like Google? So then they came out with it and it was called Westlaw Next. And only the wealthiest firms in town could have it, right? It was expensive, but I was a fancy lawyer. I was a fancy lawyer back then. I worked for fancy firms and nothing but the best for us. And so we had it, but it wasn't affordable to everybody else. Then like 18 months passed and everyone had it.
Yep.
Then eventually a year after that, Westlaw's like, well, we don't really need this other manner of doing it anymore. They just got rid of the whole thing entirely. So my policy has been this: we're going to weather this out. And we're going to wait for some of this really expensive, cutting edge, but glitchy technology to come down in price, to refine the product that they really want to sell. Because there's hundreds of AI products for sale right now. And eventually, I actually don't even think we'll have to pay for some of this stuff. Eventually, it's just going to be, but right now, if you want to just go get Westlaw, you're not paying extra for this stuff. That's just what's built in.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a car. You don't have to pay extra for a backup camera anymore. It's understood when you buy the car, you're going to have a backup camera.
Well, and I think that in the law, you have the luxury of, other people moving slower, right? In digital marketing, I don't think we have that luxury.
No, y'all can leverage it so much better than we can leverage it. Y'all can you can do so much more with it. For me, yeah, I agree with you. Like, not every industry is the same. Like my industry, like we are slow. Exactly. Like that's just,
so you have the
justice.
Inertia will allow you to wait until it's fully baked, and then you can plug all your stuff in. It'll be HIPAA compliant. It'll be natural language. It'll be, predictive, agentic, and blah, 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 blah. Right?
I agree with you.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. So what changed my mind on some of this, though, was recently my wife, she's very young, and she's got a big birthday coming up. And so I'm going to take her to California. We're going to go to like Sonoma, Napa. And I was playing around. First talking a lot of shit about AI. I'm to my own horn here, but I think I do pretty well with a prompt. I have a very good prompting system. So I was like, you know what?
You're still prompting? That's so cute.
I know. I use it to make the prompt, right? And so I was like, you are a travel agent and you are an expert in these types of wines. And so I created this whole week-long itinerary and where we're going to go to lunch and where we're going to have dinner, where we can stay, and all the tastings. And it was phenomenal. And it took me, like 30 minutes. About 90% of it was accurate. There were about 10% of it were still like, no, that's like not even a real vineyard. Or like that closed like 10 years ago. Right. But by and large, 90% of it was amazing. And so I have started changing and softening my stance a little bit because there is so much we can do.
Yeah, I think that's a tremendous use case. And we just installed my younger child at Montana State University, and he decided he wanted to drive himself up there. And he wild camped for 7 out of those 10 days. In other words, I'm too young to actually buy a real campsite, so I'm going to find a spot by the side of the road where I can throw my tent.
Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah. And
look, I love camping. That's aggressive.
And by the time we got to Colorado, we were like, hey, bro, go get some bear spray, all right?
Yeah, right.
That's, you know, that's
it's a
the
bear spray.
only condition. But he used ChatGPT to find all of these amazing spots. And he's sending this picture from somewhere on a hillside near Estes Park, Colorado. And I'm like, dude, how'd you find that? And he says, ChatGPT.
Yeah. Like, it'll build this itinerary. Yeah. Again, 90%. You got to vet it. You know, you might be driving off the side of the road, you know, into a ravine. You know,
but I mean, I think so. To me, this is where it gets really interesting is when you can use the machine to run the other machines, right? So I'm building a LinkedIn outreach tool right now. So if you get a contact request from me on LinkedIn, there's a 99% chance it will be created by AI.
It's an AI.
And so I'm using this scraper tool that goes and scrapes leads out of this other source, but I don't want to have to figure out the actual syntax of the URL to go scrape that. And so ChatGPT is doing it for me. But I'm not telling ChatGPT to do it. I'm using N8N, which is a workflow automation platform, to trigger ChatGPT to go figure it out based on the form field that I filled out. So to me, that's where it gets really interesting, is when I can just fill out a form or put a couple of words into an application, and it does all of the hard work for me. And so first, you make it so that the people who have to do the work have all the information they need to be able to do it efficiently. And then you just do what they were supposed to have done and let them proof it after the fact.
That's the plan. I agree. Not for law work. Not for the artistry of where.
Oh, indeed.
Where is the not for that. This is for rote tasks. I see there's like a law firm out there that's like, we use it for everything, and I think, God, why do you even need to do that? I mean, I've been doing this for so long. It doesn't take me any time. But okay. But I don't know. I could get in my whole area. There are outer limits. I do think, like, if a client hires me, they hire me for a reason, and they want the very best. And I always laugh when I see these lawyers and they run it through ChatGPT. That they have no ChatGPT. You can alter the voice of what you're writing in ChatGPT, but if you, in my opinion, if you want it to have the passion that a trained trial lawyer will have, then you need to be doing the hard work yourself. You need to be writing it yourself. But again, this is a different industry. So I always think like, hey, a client didn't hire me to run a form through, an LLM. They hired me to sit down and think about the facts and think to myself, what would be the most impactful way to present this fact or law to a judge or jury? Like what do I resonate? And so a lot of times when I'm doing legal writing, especially in the old days, like when I'm doing it, I'm thinking, now you can ask ChatGPT, like, make this impactful. But again, ChatGPT is like very agnostic, and it lives in ubiquity, right? It doesn't truly understand who's my audience. Where are they from? What do they like? What words do we use? Like, we're from New Orleans. So we're quirky. Like if you're in Nebraska, I don't know what a jury in Nebraska gravitates. I know the judges here. I don't know the judges in Nebraska.
Well, I guess I hear what you're saying, but the reality is you've already done that hard work, right? You've already written it down.
True.
10,000 times.
True.
Just like, and this is what I think about with, I'm thinking about this idea of like, how do you train it to work in your voice?
I think you could, right? I mean, you could also everything you make one, but
to me, one of the best ways that I can train the machine to know my voice is by coming and doing stuff like this. Mm-hmm. Because after it gets uploaded, I go grab the video, I grab the transcript, and it knows what I speak about, how I talk naturally about the things that we do. And so I would think that that's where it becomes really useful, is after you've got that, tome of all of the work that you've done in the past, feed it in, and then it knows how you're going to respond.
Where AI, if it really wanted for us to succeed, it would be in the shower. Because that's where lawyers do their best work. So that's how I start. I'm in the shower and I'm giving you, I'm writing an opening statement in the shower. I'm sitting there thinking like, I'm arguing your case for you. Because that's what I do. You hire me as a lawyer. I'm sitting there in the shower. I'm washing my hair. And then like.
Do you have one of these here?
Yeah. So the plot is, yeah. And so that's where some of it like, and it's all in here. And that becomes the formation, because each case we have, like the good ones, like the real cases, each case we have a theme for our case, right? in lawyers where you have a theme for the case, and developing the theme is hard. It takes a long time, and sometimes it's different themes, and sometimes we think it's this, and then the case turns into this, and so, but developing the theme of the case, and so much mental energy. There's nothing written, right? There's no work product here. It's just mental energy just gets spent thinking about you, thinking about your facts, thinking about your background, thinking about the judge, thinking about what sounds good, what doesn't sound good. Sometimes you learn, but you're like, oh, I'll never say that again. That fell flat, right? And just thinking and thinking and thinking. Right? So if ChatGPT, like, well, eventually it'll work. Elon Musk is going to put the little chips in our brain, right? And we're just going to sync it up to ChatGPT, and I'm going to come in, all my work's going to be done. That's when we're going to downsize.
I'm with you though. It's not the shower for me. It's the refrigerator.
Okay.
Right. It's like when the refrigerator knows what we need to order next, and the nice people from Whole Foods just like show up and it's on my doorstep, then I'm good.
I would save so much money because my wife, when she goes to the groceries, she just buys whatever item she thinks is in an item that we're cooking. So I have to issue moratoriums. I'll be like, no one is to buy Worcestershire sauce until I say so.
Ever again.
Have like under no, I even
that's
see
like an infinite
ketchup on a receipt. Like we're gonna have a family meeting. Like we have 6 bottles of ketchup.
It was COVID that did it to us. I think we go to the grocery store or to Costco once every 6 months or something. And we work from home, so we have no excuse.
Yeah.
It's just like things show up, they're on the doorstep.
We blew it during COVID because I got real uppity and I was like, I'm not going to hoard toilet paper because I'm above that. That's trash.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
We will purchase the items. We will not hoard them. And then the reality sank in.
I couldn't find the toilet paper.
Like Costco's just like, nah, dude, we don't have any toilet paper. And then the grocery store's like, and then things just it got dicey. Like we were having to like take some from the bathrooms at the office, we're like coming out of here, sneaking down the hallway. Or then, the grocery store started selling. They have a brand. You've never heard of this brand. This isn't a brand. Like nobody shipped this in this is not Cincinnati toilet paper. No. This is like the government paid some unknown company to produce these products to be stored in like an underground bunker somewhere. Like there's some application to this. You don't know what it is, but you're essentially, like who makes MREs? Like who knows? Like who even knows, right? Like some company with some giant government contract, and they were on the sly making toilet paper for the end of the world, for like Donald Trump, like that was going to be his own personal stash. And so you'd go into the grocery store and you'd see, and it was like labels with, Ultra Bright was like the name of the toilet paper, something ridiculous. And then you're buying this horrible product. And yeah, we used to like make our kids use it. We're like, I'm going to buy all the cheap asbestos toilet paper.
Right. And like kind of the Charmin extra squishy was up in
like you could forget. And like that was sold by the roll. Yeah. They were like, but this? Oh, I don't know, man. Yeah. I won't make that mistake again. We officially hoard, my garage. I'm a post-COVID. I feel like it's like the people who lived through the Great Depression never throw anything away. And you're like, well, my parents' generation, they lived through COVID.
Right. Never run out of toilet paper.
And they lived through COVID, and then there was that one shipping container that got stuck in the Suez Canal or something. And ever since then, Dad hoards, eggs and toilet paper. So, well, Will Scott, thank you very much for being here. Search Influence, correct? Search Influence. Tell all of our many millions of viewers, all of you out there, I know you're thinking like, hey, wait a minute. Will seems to have a grasp of AI and SEO and digital marketing as well as the traditional. Where can I find this guy so he can help me with my business?
Head to searchinfluence.com. We're easy to find.
Searchinfluence.com. All right. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming on. It was great meeting you. Great hearing about all these wonderful things. And maybe we'll do this again.
My pleasure, Justin. Enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah.